So I laid up 4 layers of 1708 fiberglass to make what'll be the door jamb, or whatever it is the door hits when you close it. And I measured for about 4 inches to be glued on, and another inch to hang over the edge for the door to hit when the door closes. And this is real speed of cutting it. It's surprisingly strong for just 4 layers of the 1708. So I'm speeding up the video for the rest of this. So before gluing this on, both pieces have to be perfectly clean, so they're wiped down with acetone. And after a test fit, I've catalyzed some resin, and I'm going to paint some on each surface that's going to be glued. And the resin, the way it is now, will seep into pores real easily. And now I've put thickener in the resin and made it more like peanut butter in consistency, so I can put a fairly thick layer of it on here. And that thick layer of glue sort of takes up the slack where both pieces are not perfectly flat and perfectly parallel. So after letting it sit overnight with a bunch of weight on it, I flip it over, and there's some of the glue has seeped out and formed a bead right at the corner where the flange and the side of the doorway is. And I can cut it off with the oscillating tool by cutting one way and then the other to cut loose a little piece like that. So I just work my way along the same way, cutting one direction then the other, just deep enough to remove that bead of glue that came out. I have a whole bunch of little scraps of 1708 fiberglass from another bulkhead, and I'm cutting a couple layers to lay alongside of this to sort of build up so there isn't such a big cliff at the edge, and then some other pieces that will go over the whole thing. And that's what will really do the job of gluing this piece in so that it's not going to come loose when the door is slammed 100 times on it. And the 1708 fiberglass has 2 layers woven together of long strands, and then a layer of chopped strand mat on the bottom. And you always want to lay the chopped strand mat down, but you want to wet it out before you do that because the resin won't go through all the layers. So you have it upside down somewhere else and wet out the chopped strand layer before flipping it over and setting it down and then wetting out the back of it. And this is my favorite part, is putting the gel coat on, because it gives the part its more or less finished appearance. And I'm putting gel coat on both sides of the door now in preparation for finally putting the hardware on the door. So these will be the hinges, and I mark where the holes are in the hinges and then pre-drill the screw holes going into that piece of wood that I inlaid at the side of the door frame. And I'm driving the screws by hand so that I don't accidentally strip out the wood, which could happen if I use the screwdriver or impact driver to drive these screws. So after putting the hinges on the door frame, I lay the door alongside and then do the same thing to attach the hinges to the door itself. And it closes almost perfectly. So I'm just sanding a little bit off here and a little bit off there, wherever the door seems to stick when I close it. And eventually I'll have it trimmed down to where it's just the perfect fit in the frame. So the hardware for the doorknob is made to be screwed in place, but with balsa or honeycomb or a foam kind of core, the core won't hold a screw. So these are going to have to be through bolted because I'm using honeycomb core. And so I've drilled the holes to through bolt these. And this kit is for a doorknob and latch that are surface mounted, which works out nice for a door like this. Through bolting was a little bit of an issue because I had to drill some holes in this metal plate because those two middle holes are covered by the plate. But after that, everything worked out more or less the way it's supposed to. And since I through bolted these, I'm cutting off the ends of the bolts flush with the top of the nylocks that are holding them.